Hi, everyone. I'm here to interview with human rights lawyer, Mr. Docke, Mr. Bernhard Docke. We're going to talk about the movie Rabiye Kurnaz versus George Bush, which is going to be shown in movie on December 17th. So good afternoon, Mr. Docke. How are you?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm fine.
So could you please tell us who you are and how you are connected to the story of Rabiye Kurnaz?
I'm a criminal defense lawyer from Bremen, Germany, and Murat's mother, Rabiye, joined my office in May 2002 and gave me the task to bring her son back as soon as possible. My impression was she expected it couldn't be longer than 3 weeks because now I'm engaging a professional, but it was needed much more time, and it was incredibly difficult.
So when you first met Rabiye, it's actually like it's a shock for you, I guess, because it's like you see a Turkish mother who has a huge heart and she can do anything to do anything for her son. What were your first thoughts about her? Because she has also a huge heart. Also, she has a courage. Do you think courage is contagious? Because when a brave woman takes a stand, the others make the move easier. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think her heart and her courage was tailwind for my work. And I needed a bit pressure because professional venues to help were crushed. It was an artificial law-free zone. We had no warrant of arrest. We had no idea why he was arrested and where and what are the allegations. There was no inspection of a file. There was no prosecutor in charge. There was no court who could check the validity of the detention. So there was nothing. And I needed something to give me strength in this case. And the mother was incredible concerning.
So you both were actually in total darkness, right? And I guess like she was the light.
Yeah, in the beginning we were absolutely alone.
Yeah.
I hoped for political support, but Germany said, no, it's because he has a Turkish citizenship, it's a Turkish case, and Turkey said no, he was born and raised in Germany, it's a German case. And so we were in a diplomatic lock-up situation, a kind of Bermuda triangle. No political help, no legal ways. What can we do? It needed a while to create a legal strategy to fight the denial of human rights in Guantanamo, and it worked out with U.S. Civil rights organizations, U.S. lawyers, and we put up these cases in U.S. courts, and at least we won.
We'll get to that part, but first of all, actually, you were also stuck between reality and a mother's pressure, and also your law firm, which we saw in the movie, they're not supportive, I guess. Maybe the scenario is written like that. What was your firm and your family's reaction, you taking this case?
The law firm in the movie is quite different to the one in reality. In reality,
right.
We were much more lawyers on one hand. On the other hand, they were all supportive, all of them. So important. This is very basic for the rule of law, and you should do that, and we will support you. And even if you don't get any money, we'll help out. And my family too was supportive. Question the one of my colleagues in the movie is posing: how can you defend someone who denies our rule of law? How can you defend someone who's hostile to our society? How can you work for a case without any money and with the fear that the media will attack you because you could be a kind of
enemy of the state?
Yeah, right. These are real problems, but
right.
I think once the US president decided to ignore the human rights, to ignore the current binding international law. It was such a provocation that I thought, independent of any difficulties, it is so important to take over this case and to help in this case. This was one professional side of my motivation, and the other part of the motivation was the character and the lovely character and courage of the mother.
So, because this was an endless fight of justice, and this fight needed time, needed money, and also hope. So can you recall your thoughts about how this case will end? Were you hopeless or just like a little light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I never lost the hope for the little light at the end of the tunnel. It was a very, very long time. It took 5 years to get him out.
Yeah.
And even then we were facing many problems even after the release. To give up was simply no option, because we knew there's someone sitting in a cage, getting tortured, waiting for help, waiting for his mother, waiting. He didn't know that the mother engaged lawyers, but he was still, that was the impression of the mother, still waiting for the help of the mother. And in this situation, even if you don't get any money for this work, it's no option to say, no, I leave this job. This would be impossible for me.
Yeah. So you called it what U.S. did, what the George Bush administration did, as a legal vacuum. What did United States do wrong during these detainees kept in Guantanamo? Or do they anything right, actually?
No, it's wrong from the beginning to create exceptional rules. These were ordinary criminals, and they could have been charged in the US criminal justice system. The only legal way to bring these people who might be involved in 9/11 to justice, but to create special rules to cut off all procedural rights and to open the way to torture. This is such a deep violation of the rule of law, wrong from the beginning.
Was it not hard for you, like as a German lawyer, fight with the US law and order, like all the wording is different in the United States? Yeah. How did you deal with it?
The mother decided to give me the order to help her son, because she knew that I had a part of my legal education in the US, in New York. I think almost 9 months at the United Nations in New York, and I got an impression and taste of the US judicial system, the language. And even if I don't have any law degree it was not necessary for this job, because I worked in cooperation with US lawyers. So in this cooperation, everything worked out quite well. And the professional cooperation was incredibly good, and one of the highlights of dealing this case.
Right. And also, I'm going to jump to that question. But before that, I want to know, how did Rabiye Kurnaz find you?
This is different to the movie. The movie, it shows that
she pops up in a second.
She looked in a telephone book.
Right.
But funny,
Yellow
but
pages.
ridiculous. Yeah. So she got informed by other journalists and other lawyers that she should get in contact with me.
Okay.
So it was not just by accident.
But all the evil eyes putting in your office, were they true?
What in the?
She was putting evil eyes.
She was. It's her nature that she's trying to take over. Yeah, and to protect me, of course. Very important person for her. I mean, she was very supportive all day, and she came in the office always at the wrong time when I've had stress and for other cases and stuff like that. She always gave me a call. She visited us. She cooked for us, and and it was a second household she created in our office.
Was this a cultural difference, or was it like only because this is Rabiye Kurnaz?
Both. I've never lived that with a German family. It's a kind of special hospitality, but she's exporting her hospitality from her home in my office.
So, and also, what's the story behind you meeting Baher Azmi, an American law professor? Because he helped you a lot too, right?
The first thing was to create a legal venue in the United States.
Right.
To have the decision that US courts are responsible to check what's going on in Guantanamo. And we made this basic decision by the Supreme Court decision, which is shown in the movie. Mm-hmm. And after this decision, we had the chance to challenge the detention in US courts. And at that moment, after June 2004, we needed a special lawyer for a so-called habeas corpus case in the District Court of Washington. And Baher Azmi was the one we chose, or the one who found us. It was coordinated by the Center of Constitutional Rights in New York. Baher Azmi became a close friend, and we dealt all other things after June 2004, mm-hmm. where he got engaged. We dealt everything together. He became a good friend of mine.
You made so many friends because of the story of Murat Kurnaz, right? Rabiye is now your really close friend. Mr. Baher also. How did you meet Mr. Andreas Dresen, who directed this brilliant movie?
Andreas Dresen got in contact with Murat and me after his release. Mm-hmm. This was in 2006, the release, and I think we had talks with him at 2008. And he was very motivated to create a movie out of the Kurnaz drama. But at this time, another movie was shot, a movie which shows the situation out of Murat's perspective in Guantanamo. Mm-hmm. 5 years of my life, or 5 years is this movie called, and it's very close to Murat's book. Andreas Dresen wanted to make a different one. He changed the perspective to the lawyer and the mother. Mm-hmm. This story was not yet told. He and his script writer, Laila Stieler, they worked on the script for a long time.
Right.
And I helped Laila with the script, and Laila met me and met Rabiye for many, many hours, and we told her so many stories about this case. You know, in 5 years, many more things happen than you can put in a 2-hour movie. I think Laila made a great job. She extracted the main parts, and I think it's well done.
I saw that in the movie, because it's a real story, based on a real story of Murat Kurnaz and you and Mrs. Rabiye Kurnaz. So the scriptwriter also needs to see the friendship, to see the fight of justice, to put it in the movie. And you were here in New York too, at New York Public Library, for the story of Murat Kurnaz.
Yeah.
At that time, I guess his book was published, right?
Exactly. We were invited by the New York Public Library to present the book. We had a meeting with different lawyers, and it was a very nice event. The CBS 60 Minutes made a documentation on the book.
Also, Patti Smith wrote, who is behind me
Yeah.
actually, wrote a foreword for the book.
A very nice forward, and she created that song Without Chains, and we were very, very lucky about that.
Yeah, it's a huge support.
It's a huge support. She invited us for a private or almost private concert in Munich, and we met her stage, and yeah, we got a good time together, and we were very, very thankful for her support. And the foreword for the book shows that she has a big, big heart, and she's full of empathy.
Okay, what do you think? What has changed since then? These countries, Germany, United States, and Turkey, because it was between the cities also. We see Bremen, Ankara, and then Washington. So what do you think, what changed in these countries about human rights conditions?
I think Guantanamo has been a very bad example. Realize a kind of downgrading of the value of human rights and international law after 9/11. There were several things. We can see Abu Ghraib, we can see Guantanamo, we can see the invasion in Iraq by a lie to start this war. It all ends at the aggression in the Ukraine. These are all very heavy violations of international law. The United States there were times where the United States were very important as an example and defender of human rights. These times are a bit gone. The world has been, or right now the world is, how can you say? The world is much more difficult, much more dangerous, and the future is much more at stake. The means to keep the global in a way that we all can survive under good human conditions. Most important means are the international rules, the human rights and the international law. And once there is no consensus within the global community, right, that every state has to stick on these rules, it's getting really dangerous.
And also still, since 2002, roughly 780 detainees have been held at Guantanamo. And still there are, I guess, 35 people remain, right?
Yes.
In my opinion, I don't think they will get a fair trial. What are your thoughts about it?
No, of course not. They are 20 years in detention without ever have had a hearing in front of a judge. That's absolutely impossible for a state based on the rule of law. And the Pentagon thinks that most of these in Guantanamo left detainees are too dangerous to release and too difficult to prosecute, too dangerous to release because after torturing them for many years, they are probably not friends of the United States when you release them. Too difficult to prosecute because the so-called evidence got extracted by torture and can't be used in US courts. And so the US would fear situation that even when they will be charged in a civilian court, it would end in a catastrophe for the United States because they would be sent free. And so they feared, And so the ones who are still in Guantanamo are locked up in this situation. But this situation is basically created by the violation of human rights from the beginning.
As far as I see, none of these countries corrected their mistakes from the past. It takes a courage to say, we're really sorry. Like what happened was a mistake.
Yeah, that's a sad chapter. no one in the US got charged for torture. Not the architects of torture, and not the perpetrators, not the ones who put the torture on the human beings. There is impunity in the US. Also, none of the US ever said sorry to the ones who got tortured, and even to the ones who got released one day.
Even you were waiting for an apology from Steinmeier, right?
Yeah, and in Germany, nobody of the ones who messed up this case, and the transfer of Murat Kurnaz from the US to Germany got offered by the US in 2002, 4 years before his release, and Germany said no, and Germany revoked his permission to stay and to come back to Germany. This was really a very, very dark point. And the one who was mainly in charge of this decision and who is defending this decision up to today and never said sorry is our current president.
Do you think Rabiye Kurnaz will get the apology she waits for years?
No.
No, right?
At least the film would have made, or the movie would have made another chance for the state to put to go to the family and say, okay, we reflected again, and it was a big mistake, and sorry, and what can we do for you? There was no reaction at all out of the political system. They just ignored it.
My last question: what did Murat Kurnaz's story teach you in the meaning of patience and friendship?
One lesson is that I realized the value of human rights in a new way. In the moment where there's a lack of law, you just realize the importance of what's missing at this moment.
Right.
This is one point. The other point is that I'm a bit more skeptical the work or the cooperation with the state. The message from the German state, or I have been, or the Germany lied to me for many years concerning the chances to help for Murat. This was absolutely unacceptable, and for me a big disappointment. And the last point, you were asking about friendship. Yes, it created our drama, and our journey created many more friendships. And one of the friendship is the one to the family of Rabiye.
Yeah.
It's not only Rabiye, it's also her other sons and Murat and Murat's family. And yeah.
You are seeing each other, right?
Yes, on a regular basis. And we have seen often in cooperation with the movie. And I've been with Rabiye just a month ago in Italy for the movie start in Italy.
You are now stars of justice, maybe.
Okay.
So maybe it should be my first question, but my last question. Why did you become a lawyer?
I think it was a basic wish to make the world a little bit better and to fight for justice. That's it.
Thank you. In your words, I rest my case, Mr. Docke. Thank you so much for answering the questions.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.